It's time for Business Minds Coffee Chat, an inspiring show about the journey to personal and professional growth. And now, your host, Jay Shear.
Hey everyone, you're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am your host, Jay Shear, and I am super excited. I've got a fantastic guest with me today. My guest is a father of 9 and a grandfather of 4. He's a former pro cyclist, a prolific entrepreneur, a respected peak potential guide, author of the book, What Drives You, and the host of a wildly popular podcast with over 70 million downloads and over 1,500 episodes. Please welcome the personal evolution guide himself, Kevin Miller. Kevin, it is so great to have you here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Jay, I'm incredibly grateful and honored to have a conversation about what I think really matters. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure. And, before we started recording, I mentioned to you, and our audience may or may not know this, but you were actually on my podcast, Business Minds Coffee Chat, which was episode number 204 in February of 2024. So although we've had some texting exchanges back and forth, we haven't spoken in a while. But here's the interesting thing. There have been, like many of us, there's been a number of, let's just say, life transitions and changes and things that have certainly occurred in your life since that time. So I wanted to explore a bit about that with you today. And I thought maybe a good starting point would be for you to share with all of us, if you could go back and relive any particular moment in your life, what would it be and why that particular moment?
Boy, a particular moment is a weighty focus to give. That question, we often talk about that. If you go back and talk to your younger self, what would you say? Mm-hmm. I have gotten clear on that, and to this degree, I wish it had happened as early as possible. I mean, that moment, I wish it would have been, honestly, to take a sequential moment, I'd say it'd be in my teen years. Take me at 15 years old.
Okay, tell me more.
And that I had been told by someone, my later self, or what would be, that the reality that I think I experience is not reality. That what I perceive is just my own unique perception of the world, and everybody else is having their own unique perception. Now, I don't know if that sounds incredibly has a lot of gravity, but to me, I lived so much of my life just assuming, expecting, believing that what I experienced was, and I took that and really wrapped my life around that. Some of it was good because some of the things that I believed in were good and helpful and true. Some of them I weren't. I did not end up being. And man, I caused a lot of dissension, I think, in myself and then ultimately with others, living a life thinking that my experience actually existed for other people as well.
So let's explore that just a bit. And since you brought up the word belief, and we're talking about, you mentioned that really if you were to go back and relive a moment, it would be in your teen years, 15 years old. So if you think back, what is something that you did believe about yourself, that you believed about yourself personally, that you've discovered later in life wasn't true?
Yeah, the biggest one. Great. I appreciate the question, Jay. The biggest perspective that I had was around my identity, and it was around my achievements. It was that I was these things that I did. Those are what I attached to my identity. And then I spent the rest of my years, up until, unfortunately, fairly recently, trying to support that identity, trying to protect that identity, which for me was a hero complex and no limits and no excuses, the kind of thing that works great as a pro athlete.
Right.
But when you take that into life, I wore myself out. I took myself to burnout. I took myself to fractures that, really unfortunate. And I look back now, and you mentioned, belief. I really, really concern myself with the concept of belief in general, my own and everyone else's, that we have these beliefs that we have agreed with, either consciously or subconsciously, and we go about our life, and that's what our perception is wrapped around, of those core beliefs that are so often primarily just subjective. They're not proven, and man, my experience is it causes a lot of heartache. So
share with us an example of that heartache, what you personally have experienced. I can speak from my own personal experience, what I have been through, but I want to hear from you the impact of protecting that identity. And, you mentioned about the hero complex and no limits and just running and ultimately burning yourself out and potentially burning relationships out as well. But share with us your personal perspective. But Kevin, as you're doing that, I would love it if you would also maybe weave into that story what you've learned about yourself through the healing or through that process.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. I come back to identity, the things that we, again, believe about ourselves, and then really spend our lives, again, protecting and supporting. And I realize how much of my life was around that. Was it around, you said in the bio, I have 9 kids. Well, who has 9 kids? I'm not in some religious sect. It's just, I just did. Everything was, if you're going to do it, do a lot of it. And we just did. And we had lots of kids, and we brought in foster kids and adopted, and we, served at church. And I had to do work that was, purposeful. And again, be the hero. No limits, no excuses. I do everything. I fix everything. Nothing bothers me. So there were no boundaries at all. Had no boundaries at all. And it sounds valiant because it's the stuff that the world applauds. Everybody is just, you get a lot of acclaim for that. And over time, though, I'm not God. I'm not the hero. I am not limitless. There are things that happen that make you a mere mortal. And I literally burn out, Jay. I had multiple times in my life. I remember one, 6 years ago or so, walking across one of my driveways on our property. Yeah, our property. We had a big house that we built, and I literally built a lot of it, oversized house and a lot of land and all this, just so much stuff. And I'm walking across the driveway realizing I'm bitter. I am bitter. I'm taking care of something for a kid. I don't think the kid had even asked. I just got wind of a problem, and I go take care of it. That's what I do. That's what Kevin does. That's my identity. I fix everything. I take care of everything. I serve, and again, all this seemingly valiant stuff. And I realized I'm bitter, and then it hit me, Jay. It hit me that I do have limits. There are excuses for things, and I am not God. I'm not Superman. This whole Superman complex, I'm just not, because I'm sitting here feeling it and realizing that I'm bitter. Nobody wants me serving them out of a bitter heart. I'm not helping them with that. And even that dawning, it took so long. It took so long. That realization, that epiphany, that's where you write the book, and now you want to have this miraculous story of recovery. It didn't really change things. That was the first little level of awareness. It was a little drip. And then it went on, and then I came to another place of pain, and it took so many, and it took some damage that occurred, as a result of that, with relationships and circumstances, for me to finally look in the mirror and start pursuing who I really was, not just what I could really do. And that to the end of your question, as far as the healing, that's been it. It's been looking in the mirror. I mean, you presented me in the bio as an evolution guide. I like that word, evolve. Not from a, spiritual evolutionary standpoint, but just evolve. Am I evolving? Am I maturing? Or am I just the same guy every day, even though I get older? And I'm afraid as I look back, and that's why I cite the 15-year-old, that the guy who had these beliefs, had figured out how to kind of work the world, that I just went forward as that guy, and I got married, and I had kids, and I started businesses. But I was pretty much the same guy. I learned how to do lots of things. My abilities increased, but the me inside, don't know that guy changed much until really recently. And I had somebody, I was actually on a show like this, ask, if I took away all the identities, if I took away all the roles, everything that I did, who was I? Mm-hmm. Man, Jay, I had no idea. What kind of question is that?
That's a tough one. Now, how long ago was that question asked of you?
Probably within the past 3 years.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is because since that question has been asked, obviously you've had a bit more time to contemplate and ponder on it, and clearly you have been going through a time of transition. I've seen it, and I've heard it through your voice, through your stories, through watching what you've been doing on your own podcast and on your own platform. So if that same question were asked of you today, where maybe you've had a little more time to think about it, do you have an answer to that question? Stripping it all away, and it gets down to just the raw piece of self. How do you answer the question, who are you?
I'm going to give you a statement.
Okay.
I'm also going to say beforehand, I'm not completely comfortable that it's the right statement. It's just the best I've figured out so far, in all truth. And I look at me, at Kevin in the mirror, and the best I can comprehend is that I am who I am choosing to be right now. I am who I am, how I am believing. I am what I'm aware of, and I can't be aware of everything. So I am, I'm the best awareness I can be of me right now, and who I'm choosing to be, how I'm choosing to be, not what I do, and that it's a continual moment by moment conscious choice. And I say conscious, we can put a lot of words in there: conscious, aware, being present, all these things that we throw around, but I don't think that we really comprehend them very well. But I want to be responsive to every moment, not just reactive, as an elementary way to say it.
I'll tell you, first of all, that's a beautiful response, and we'll talk a bit more about that on the other side of the break. So, Kevin, I'm going to ask you to hold for just a couple of moments. We're going to take a brief break to thank our amazing sponsors. My friends, don't you go anywhere. You are listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat. We will be right back.
Thank you so much for recommending us to your family and friends. When you need a 30, 60, or 90-minute massage, it's real easy to book your appointment online. MassageByNatalie.org. MassageByNatalie.org.
Hey, it's Jay with Thomas Media Solutions. Join us every Monday night from 6 to 8 at Tortugas in Flagler Beach for the best live entertainment around. We do several rounds of general knowledge trivia. That means it's trivia for everyone. It just doesn't get any better than this. If you're looking for the best food, the best drinks, the best people, and the best entertainment around, Tortugas is the place to be. Make sure to get there early to get a seat. See you there.
All right, here we go. Let us entertain you all season long at the Fitzgerald Performing Arts Center. Our brand new season is out now. We've got great shows and great seats waiting for you. Every time you buy a ticket to a show at the Fitz, you support the performing arts in Flagler schools. Get all the information and buy tickets at flaglerentertainment.com.
This is Jay Shear. Are you a business owner or entrepreneur trying to figure out how to improve and achieve greater results? If so, I'm speaking to you. I provide the tools, coaching, and accountability you need to gain clarity around your personal and professional goals, remove the excuses holding you back, build the mindset, leadership skills, and proven strategies to grow your business and become the best version of yourself. To learn more or to apply for my coaching services, call 904-236-0431 or visit jshearbusinessconsulting.com. All right, we're back. And again, you're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am here today with my very special guest, Kevin Miller. We're having a deep and meaningful conversation, and we're going to continue that conversation right now. So, Kevin, before the break, we were talking about identity, and you were sharing with us about the things that you tied your identity to prior to, let's say, more recent times. And you've experienced some pain, some challenges, some loss of or fracturing of relationships as a result, and burning out, and all kinds of things that have occurred. And that's, it's all too often that we see that as part of the human experience. But I think there's some important lessons to take away from that. And so a question was asked of you by another host of a show, and they were asking you that if you stripped everything away, stripped your identity away, everything that you attach yourself to, who are you? And that was a tough question for you to try to answer. So I asked you before the break if you could answer that question now, and your response was, who I'm choosing to be right now. Right? You're making a conscious choice, but it's who you are by who you're choosing to be in the moment. And I think that's a really interesting response and a very powerful one. So I wanted to find out from you if, in thinking about the choosing who you are in this moment, and based on your experiences and where you are in life right now, could you share with us what is one piece of advice or maybe a reminder that you'd give your future self when doubting your abilities or facing a really difficult decision? So instead of talking to your younger self, I want you to project a bit into the future so you have an opportunity to give a piece of advice or a reminder to your future self. What would it be if you were sitting there doubting yourself, doubting your ability, doubting your self-worth, or facing a really tough decision?
To some degree, Jay, it's that I am not in danger. I'm not in danger. I look back to, we're in this age of anxiety right now. And anxiety, by definition, actually, I've had a good friend, therapist, Jake Eagle, really differentiate between fear and anxiety. Fear is, that's a physiological response. And if I'm here in Colorado and a bear comes charging out of the woods, which they never do, but if it did, I've got a healthy fear, and I run, protect myself, do whatever. Anxiety is primarily, that we suffer as individuals, that I have suffered from so long, is primarily a worry, in essence, about something that might happen. And it's very seldom physical. It's not a physical fear. It's usually something, a psychological fear, in essence, that is most often, this is what I find in the realm of psychology and therapy and spirituality, it's most often a fear about our identity. And so reminding myself, Kevin, when that anxiety that happens, when I do feel worried or concerned or, just again, feel that any anxiety, to go, are you really in danger? And the answer, not 9 out of 10, I think 99 out of 100 times, if not more, is no, I'm not. And then what's the fear? It's just about my identity. And then if I look and go, I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't need anybody else to tell me that I'm okay. And I'm talking about self-worth and,
sure.
Innate, that I'm okay. I think if I can continue to do that as I daily continue to focus on that. And again, it's not like I was some worried or fearful guy. I think a lot of times my anxiety was just almost excitement, a new idea, a new pursuit, a new whatever. But it was still this pressure. It was still a chemical response in my body, and I'm just running on high octane constantly, and the body's not meant to withstand that, and I don't get the best of myself from that state. I get the best of myself from a slow down, contemplative state. That's where others experience me best. You may be impressive as a caffeinated squirrel running around doing all this stuff.
Right.
But you don't want to hang out with that person. I don't. Those aren't the people I gravitate towards. I want the people that are there, that they're with me, that they're secure in themselves. And so that when I talk about identity, my primary focus right now, overall in life, is that identity and what creates security in an identity. What creates a secure, not only a secure identity, but an identity who's able to just secure themselves no matter what. I'm intrigued by that. I've felt my life make dramatic shifts because of that, and I'm now in the work already of helping offer this to other people as well.
So, Kevin, how then do you protect yourself from going down the same or similar path? It may look different, but a similar path to what you had experienced before, where your identity was tied to all the things, right? The hero, the athlete, all check boxes, right? So how do you protect yourself so you don't do the same thing again?
Thank you for the question, and you just said it, that when your identity is tied to all these things, that's it. I do not want to tie my identity to anything, not for its security. There are things that I like. I mean, I'm always going to be a father, and I say that. I mean, anybody can be a father without being engaged, and I'm going to be an engaged, active, serving father. There's roles that I'm always going to encompass, but looking at that and going, am I attached to it? Almost like addiction. Almost looking at addiction. What are we addicted to? Well, what is it that we cannot go without? That's in some ways how we define base level addiction, that thing that you can't be okay without. And that was, again, so much of my identity. If I'm not the fixer, if I'm not the hero, if I'm not serving, if I'm not doing all these things to feed the things that I've attached to my identity, then I wasn't okay. And breaking free of those, on one hand freeing, on one hand very, very disorienting. But I now am looking that I don't want to go from one attachment to another. And the attachment of hero. So then what am I going to? What is my next attachment? I don't want one, which can sound kind of spiritual hoodoo guru. I mean, I don't want to wake up every morning just a white blob floating in the ether.
Sure.
Either. I mean, I like understanding things about myself. I'm a guy who, has always, and I assume will continue to like to go for a run, to go for a ride, to be physically active, to be a foodie and love, my food and drink and whatnot, and to love deep conversations. And these are things that I understand about myself, and I'm okay with them. But will they change? I don't know. Maybe there's so much in my life that has changed. I think for most of us, we look back, things that we like that we don't anymore, things that we believe that we don't anymore. But that concept of attachments, that in regards to identity, is my primary focus as an answer to your question. I don't want to, as I let go of these things that I've attached to my identity and tried so hard to secure and protect, I want to let go of them, and I don't want to attach to other things, not in the same way, right. At least, not in the same way.
Yeah, that process of letting go is certainly not an easy one, but it's often a necessary one to experience true personal and professional growth. And Kevin, are you proud of yourself today?
Yes. Yeah. I am. I mean, even that word, I think we have a lot of baggage around the word, but I trust my heart. I trust my heart. I know that I want to do good in the world. I want to love people well. And even if I make mistakes, I know that in the core of myself. And yeah, I rest in that and have allowed myself to have compassion for myself. I've allowed myself to be okay without having to earn. And that is just not the way that I existed. I think I was always trying to prove myself to myself, not even to other people. I think the greatest degree was to myself. I think to other people, some of those, especially the most intimate relationships, I looked for that. But man, I beat myself up trying to prove myself to myself. I thought I was, even again, that word valiant, righteous, in being my own worst taskmaster. And I don't want to be around somebody like that. And yet that's who I was being.
Well, again, your growth requires learning tough lessons, and you've definitely experienced some difficult lessons, but most importantly, through all of that, is that you had or have had the self-awareness to recognize the areas that you need to own and work on, and whatever that work looks like, therapy, whatever it is. And when you own it and you acknowledge it and you're self-aware, that's when you can begin to make changes. So it's not about what happened in the past. We take those learnings and pull them forward. It's more about what am I going to do today moving forward. And your responses have been so insightful, and I appreciate it. So as we're wrapping up our conversation today, a couple of quick things here. If you could ask one question, I know you're such a phenomenal host and interviewer. If you could ask one question of anyone, either alive or no longer living, who would it be? And what one question would you want to ask? So tell me the person and then the question.
I think that person, talk about evolving, is going to change for me week to week, month to month. Boy, to a degree, I have really, really influenced myself with a book called The Way of Transition. It's by a guy named William Bridges. He's no longer alive. And he talks about transition, and in a sense, his point is evolving. When things change in your life, especially those things that you may not have chosen, you have the opportunity just to make a change, and that's it. Nothing about you changes, or you go through what he describes and defines as a real transition, and you learn and grow and become, something different. With that, that's somebody who's high in my mind. I've been studying his work for a while and really using it as a guidepost for me in my own transitions and understanding some of these concepts. As far as the question, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I actually have his book, and I have his book as a result of you actually talking about that in more detail. So if you were able to ask just one question, what would it be, very succinctly?
I think my interest would be, it's kind of like what I do on the shows. One of the questions I so often ask guests on shows who are experts in a certain area is, because I want to know it for myself, is where, in regards to change and transition, if they had to sum it up, kind of give me that boiled down bullet point, where do we most miss it in regards to change? Something comes along in your life, in his vernacular, something ends. Something ends. A job ends, financial status ends, a relationship ends, a health and wellness, or an aspect of your health ends. Something especially that you didn't want to happen. And then again, we go through transition. Again, I'm studying the guy's book, but I still would say, well, what is it that, how and why do we most miss the opportunity to grow?
That's a big one to really think through, and I appreciate you sharing that. And Kevin, I want to thank you so very much for joining me today on Business Minds Coffee Chat. I've really enjoyed our conversation, you and I will connect again because we do need to go deeper on some other topics. But I want you to know how much you've impacted me and my life, and I'm just grateful for you. Thank you.
Jay, just a gift. Thanks for being a blessing to my day today and my life in general.
It is my pleasure, and thank you. And for all of you, I want to thank you so very much for tuning in to Business Minds Coffee Chat. We will be back next Saturday morning at 8:30. And until then, my friends, keep learning and growing and keep doing the work to reach your potential. Take care.